Hello, everybody. Rachel Onchain here from Onchain Media. I'm super excited today to dive into our latest episode featuring Pinto. So today we have Ben on the call, and Ben, I'm super excited to dive into all things Pinto on this podcast episode. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and dive right in. We had an amazing Twitter space, by the way, with Pinto, myself, Bill, Late Night on Base. We hosted an incredible space where we had Ben come on from Pinto and did a deep dive and got the community excited about it. So I'm really stoked to be continuing the conversation here and doing more education on Pinto. So without further ado, Ben here is one of the co-creators of Pinto. So Ben, do you want to kind of dive in and just take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on, Rachel.
Of course.
I, along with a dozen or so other co-creators, recently launched Pinto, which is a new attempt at creating low volatility money without any centralized intermediaries.
Awesome. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I really just kind of want to cover some of the basics here. We'll come back around to you because I want to hear about your journey. But if you don't mind, just diving into what is Pinto, who is it for, why was it created, and what problems does it solve?
Well, if you think about how economies work, and ultimately our mission is to create a leviathan-free economy that is trustless, censorship-resistant, and permissionless. In order to do so, you need a currency in addition to a store of value. You know, Bitcoin is a wonderful store of value, the best one the world has ever seen. But economies, particularly for medium of exchange and unit of account, require a low volatility money. So Pinto is an attempt at creating a low volatility cryptocurrency, free from any centralized intermediaries or trust assumptions. Everything runs on the base network.
Awesome. I do want to learn more about you. So, Ben, could you highlight what your journey has looked like? And I also like to ask, like, what your why is. What gets you excited about Pinto and the work you're doing there?
Thank you so much for asking. I got into cryptocurrency because the idea of having the ability to store value without any centralized intermediary or controller that can censor and seize value really spoke to me. My family history is a recurring tale of working hard and then having basically everything taken from us due to changes in political conditions. And this has happened over and over again. So the idea of money that is free from that ability is deeply compelling to me. And at the same time, I see the need for more than just Bitcoin, more than just a great store of value. I see the need to figure out how to create a full economy that follows those same principles of Bitcoin, that that actually allows for people to do everything in that same fashion. And in order to do so, I believe that you need low volatility money. You can't just have a hard money with a fixed supply where the value only goes up. You actually need some other complementary currency that is designed to minimize its volatility relative to some other value index. So I've been working on low volatility money for about 5 years now. Originally, it was what was called the algo stable space. But at this point, I think the idea of algo stable is taboo, and in many ways, rightfully so, because the idea of stability is a fallacy. You know, value is relative and subjective and changes over time. And so the idea of having perfect stability is impossible. The question, it should be a much lighter and easier question to answer, which is just, can you minimize volatility enough such that it's usable for lending and borrowing and trading as a medium of exchange? So that's what I'm doing here.
Well, wow. So it sounds like you have deep roots in crypto, and from your background with your family, this is something that's really important to you at your core. And I really love that you've taken such an academic approach here. I mean, I've gone through the white paper, like you've really done your homework on this, and it's very impressive. So I'm excited to dive deeper in, and thank you for sharing more about your journey.
I appreciate the compliments on the white paper, but the academic, I want to make a little joke about. So
Go for it.
I'm a dropout. I am
That's
not.
so funny.
I am not an academic, but I do believe in rigor. And so people who want to go check out the white paper and can see everything about the protocol, how it works, every equation, uh, rigorously documented. That is about transparency. That is about verifiability. That is about trustlessness. Academia, I don't think, has taken this seriously. So as much as we are taking this is an experiment, and we are taking it incredibly seriously. As much as that is the case, I can't say that what we're doing is aligned with what the academics are doing at the moment.
That's interesting. So I actually just did an event at the Holt International School of Business in San Francisco, and I was very surprised. I was talking to these students; they were super engaged. But I said, "Okay, is anyone here familiar with the DAO?" And asked for folks to raise their hand. Only two students in the entire room actually raised their hands and had any sort of knowledge on DAOs. And I think that our education system, I have seen a certain trend, like for my alumni at FIT New York, they actually have created an NFT and entrepreneurship department. But I do feel that we need to kind of get more on board on the academic side. I mean, Cornell is doing it. I'm here in Berkeley, and they've definitely, prioritized this here. But yeah, as a whole, I think we should trend more towards showing the viable pathway to a career in this industry, and also diving deeper into the academic side of things and helping people to really understand and bridge that understanding with students. Because the younger generation, they're going to carry the torch, right? These kids are growing up on technology nowadays. So I do think that education is super important, and integrating more blockchain education into schools. And sorry, I know that was long winded, but it's something I care about deeply.
Well, I think that's very beautiful. And the reality is that it feels like, at a crossroads as a civilization, where the AI is getting very powerful, and there's a question over how much can we trust the AI. And in many ways, one of the main use cases for the crypto economy will be to create a full trustless, permissionless AI that you can verify your interactions with from top to bottom. And I believe that that will be the foundation of like a wonderful, world-class, all-time education for young people, which is so lacking. I think I just saw a statistic that something like low double-digit percentages of 11th graders in Chicago can read at grade level.
Yeah, that's
Am I,
crazy.
what's
I've
going
heard
on?
similar other statistics about, American adults and the percentage of folks that can read beyond a sixth grade level. It's actually really surprising. Well, yeah, so to dive deeper in here, what place does Pinto have in the broader crypto ecosystem? Can you kind of explain where you're positioned here?
Well, over the long term, the goal is to build an entire leviathan-free economy around Pinto as a currency.
Real quick, can you break down the word Leviathan?
It is a reference to the Hobbesian Leviathan, which is to say that there is a sovereign that is created through a social contract between humans, that the sort of defining property of that sovereign is that it can change the rules. And that is what we consider to be the Leviathan, or the thing that makes this thing that is created through a social contract, or through social consensus, if you will, that the thing can change the rules and has a will, and it can use its will to change the rules. So in particular, uh, when we say we're building a leviathan-free economy, or Pinto is a leviathan-free currency protocol. What that means is that the rules cannot be changed by the thing itself, and in that way, people can trust in its integrity and are not subject to something being changed out from under them without their consent.
Well, thank you for breaking that down here for our viewers and listeners. And so just a couple of other questions here I have for you. I just wanted to ask you, because I've obviously been focused on the Base and Coinbase ecosystem quite a bit. So one question I have for you today, Ben, is why have you chosen to deploy on the Base chain?
Well, it's a combination of factors. The growth of users on the Base network is very encouraging. And Pinto has been designed for the EVM. Base is the fastest growing and most popular at this point EVM L2 that ultimately inherits the integrity or the security of the Ethereum consensus. And in many ways, it felt like a no-brainer to build on Base. Furthermore, stablecoins are a very important issue politically. And the reality is that Brian Armstrong has spoken quite positively about the importance of this stuff, and we feel very aligned, or at least for me personally, I feel aligned with that. And I think the other major factor is the level of activity and social, the positive social vibe in the Base community, and I think you are the epitome of that, Rachel. So.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, that's one of the reasons I've stuck around. So shout out to the Thank You Base God community. That's the first community I got involved with. And I just spent hours in the chat, like genuinely like laughing, building connections, and was welcomed with open arms. I think the first post I ever made about Base, Jesse Pollock ended up liking it and just immediately was welcomed in, from several key individuals in the Base ecosystem and from the Base team. So I immediately felt this sense of belonging and like being home, like with the community. And some of my greatest friends have come out of this ecosystem, like Late Night on Base. So it's just been epic. I mean, I can talk about Base all day till I'm blue in the face, but I'm very excited that you've landed here and you're welcome with open arms. And anything we can do, you already know, Ben, anything we can do to support you, the community's here for you. So great choice on coming to Base.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Absolutely. So, okay, back to the other question. So you kind of broke down the place that Pinto has in the broader crypto ecosystem. Can you explain something we talked about was how Pinto has guardrails to help prevent a bank run? Can you touch on that a bit more?
Sure. So fundamentally, when the protocol is trying to minimize volatility, there's upside volatility and downside volatility. Upside volatility is an easy problem to solve because the protocol can mint new currency. And one of the defining features of Pinto as a protocol is that the mints are distributed to the holders of the currency itself. So you juxtapose that with a government that can print money and spend it however they choose arbitrarily. When the protocol mints new currency, the protocol distributes it according to the algorithm, so it ultimately distributes it to the holders of the currency. The much harder problem is on the downside. And this is where the protocol, it's a very interesting dynamic because on the one hand, you say, how does it prevent a bank run? Ultimately, it cannot prevent bank runs. The goal is to minimize the scale and the duration of the bank runs and to ultimately have a system where over time, people have trust in the system again. And in that way, there are a variety of different trade-offs, like the trade-off space that the protocol makes around minimizing volatility in the short term versus accepting some sort of volatility in exchange for long-term sustainability. So happy to get as deep into the mechanics themselves. They're quite, they're quite complex at this point, given that this experiment is, approaching year 4.
Wow, that's so you guys have been around for a minute, and I love that you touch on like you're kind of breaking this down from more of a perspective of realism, right? Like, you're not going to completely prevent a bad thing from ever happening, but what you're doing is creating safeguards to do harm reduction, right? And kind of take preventative measures to mitigate the damage done from situations like that.
Exactly. In a free market, you can't prevent things like that. And so the question is just, in an autonomous fashion without requiring a centralized intermediary or central bank, is it possible to minimize that, and without a lender of last resort is maybe what I should be saying. So is it possible to minimize the pain while still having an economy with, real price discovery for a currency?
I love that. So the next question I have for you here is, you were saying you've been around for 4 years. I'm curious, in those past 4 years and beyond, what are some past milestones that you're proud of on the Pinto team? And, you can share other things as well, but curious to hear what milestones you're proud of.
Well, the project itself, this experiment of trying to build low volatility money based on credit, this Pinto is the continuation of what was originally Beanstalk. So Beanstalk was another credit-based stablecoin. At that time, it was back in the algo stablecoin era, if you will. So it was not low volatility money. But Beanstalk grew to about $200 million in value before being hacked, which is a quite tragic tale and traumatic for many that went through it, including myself. And one of the accomplishments that the Pinto team is very proud of is how resilient the developers and the community was ultimately after the hack. And there was a revival attempt for Beanstalk that went about as well as you'd expect after having $200 million hacked and no VC backing or anything like that. And Pinto is a new attempt. So whereas there was a revival attempt that we're very proud of having, gone through and tried to make Beanstalk work, Pinto is a response to that and continuing on with the experiment. Our crew feels incredibly proud to be experimenting on the frontier of money and feel like, failure in the short term cannot be an impediment to continuing with this experiment until we find out that, if the data says it's simply not possible to do this, to have currency with lower volatility than Bitcoin, where there's new utility created, which to me seems pretty low bar. Until we get conclusive evidence that's not the case, we're going to keep experimenting. And so we're very proud of our resilience. Also very proud in our building of Pinto and the Pinto exchange on which it runs. We've built arguably the most complex set of contracts in the EVM. And at this point, they've been secured by multi-million-dollar bug bounties, and just the level of depth of what we're building, we take very seriously. So we haven't accomplished our goal yet to create a low volatility leviathan-free money that scales. So we remain humble in our pursuit of this goal, but we're very proud of how far we've come and very excited for this new attempt, Pinto, which was just deployed 3 months ago on base.
Wow.
And so it's a new beginning.
Awesome. Well, I love to hear the resilience of your team, learning and getting better, improving from failures and building on that, and just, continuing to try and move forward. So I love that spirit that your team has. And we went over some past milestones. I'm curious, looking towards the future, what your project looks like at scale. And what are your overall hopes for Pinto in a perfect world? What would that look like?
As a currency, the hope is that Pinto is used to facilitate a full economy, entrepreneurs, in whatever that means in the AI enabled future. And that can mean that's a different podcast we'll have to do maybe. But
I'm down. I definitely want to jam more on that topic for sure.
But the point is, What the economy looks like, unclear. What the economy will look like on a leviathan-free economy, in a leviathan-free economy, on a full leviathan-free stack based on a leviathan-free currency versus the economy that will exist on centralized rails with private data that the users don't control. What's that economy going to look like? I think people will have to choose which economy they want to participate in. But the
Ooh, I
goal,
like that.
yeah, it's all about choice. So in many ways, we're trying to give them the choice, something to opt into and opt out of freely. That's what permissionlessness is about in many ways.
I love it. Not only do you understand, but you live the ethos and the philosophy, like the cypherpunk values that crypto originated from. I think that's awesome that you're maintaining that through your work. And so you went over your hopes for the future. We went over the past, what that's looked like. Now, for our viewers and listeners today, I'm curious if you have any calls to action. If there's anything you want to share, any calls to action for our viewers and listeners, feel free to share.
Well, we're building a community actively, and the heart of the community is the Pinto Discord. So if anything that I've said today struck a chord, struck a nerve, come join the Pinto Discord and hang out with us. And this really does feel like a new beginning, like I was saying before.
That
And
is awesome.
we're very proud of the work we've been doing and encourage people to come check it out.
Cool. And I'm going to share all these links in the description for those of you watching or listening. So the Discord link is pinto.money/Discord. And to actually use the protocol, that link's going to be pinto.money. And you'll see those if you're watching on YouTube in the links in the description. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you'll see those in the description as well. Okay. So Ben, just to put a bow on everything here, if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to take us through your website and show our viewers today more about Pinto.
Sure. Okay, so this is the main page, which explains the mechanism I was describing of what happens when the price is greater than its value target of $1, what happens when the price is less, how the protocol works effectively at a high level. And the two main pieces of the protocol are the silo and the field. The silo is the deposit facility where users can deposit their value in exchange for yield. That yield changes over time. You can see right now it's just about 1% over the past 30 days. And the field, which is the debt facility or the credit facility, if you will, of the protocol, which the protocol tries to borrow excess supply when the price is too low in order to return its price to its value peg. So you see here the price is just about 83 cents. So that means that the protocol is trying to borrow from the market. So the soil is the amount that the protocol is trying to borrow from the market, and the temperature is the interest rate, which is right now 952%. So you can go through, we could spend time going through, but I don't think we have enough time to go through all of the different pieces. But there's different tabs for the silo, the field. There's a way to interact with the data. So you can see all the statistics or many relevant statistics of the protocol. There's also a Dune dashboard. But I also want to just highlight quickly the white paper, which the abstract and introduction are definitely for the people and meant to be digestible and rigorous at the same time, short and sweet. There's also some pictures, but everything is rigorously defined. And in that way, in conjunction with the code being open source, having a technical document like this where you can see all of the things get pretty complicated, it is meant to be accessible. We also have a Git book and stuff where things are written in more plain English. But between the open source code, the white paper, and a Git book, this protocol is designed, or not even designed. A tremendous amount of work has gone into making this thing accessible and verifiable. So would encourage everyone that is interested and curious about what I've been talking about and how the mechanism works to go check out the documents. And for those that are excited to go check out the website.
Yeah, and so Ben, I just want to say before we go here, thank you for being a part of the Let's Touch Base community. Welcome to the Onchain Media family, the Base family. We're so excited to have you guys in our community. And for those of you watching and listening, I'm just going to run through the resources one more time. So to join the Discord, you're going to go to pinto.money/Discord. To use the protocol, you're going to go to pinto.money. And then you can also, join in the Discord and ask questions and access the ecosystem and documentation on the website. You can read the white paper at pinto.money/white paper and connect with them on X at pinto.money. And you spell out the DOT on that on Twitter. So, Ben, thank you so much for your time today. And do you have any closing thoughts or any words of wisdom you want to impart before we end today?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me, Rachel.
Of course.
You're such a joy. And,
thank you.
Yeah,
we have fun here today, you guys. Well, we may or may not release the bloopers at some point, but yeah, we had fun here today.
We did indeed. Words of wisdom are that the goal to create a leviathan-free economy and a leviathan-free low volatility money is a meaningful step on the way to that broader goal. And we are not at the point where this is a sure thing, This is a truly early experiment at the frontier of money, but it is also, from where we sit, a necessary one. So we are very grateful to anyone that follows their curiosity and checks it out. And so I would just say we are still figuring out how to foster a community around low volatility money. It's not a community that has existed before. There is a deceased zombie-like algo stable community, but low volatility money is something that is new and doesn't, people aren't talking about it yet. So if this has resonated with people, would be really grateful for people to just come chat in the Discord and ask questions. And there's a whole group of eager low volatility money early adopters that want to help update people to the new meta. So that's what I got for you.
Awesome. Well, I'm dropping a GM in the Discord right now.
Awesome.
Ben, thank you so much for taking the time today. I hope that if you're watching or listening to this, that you've taken something away from this, that you feel inspired to show up, to keep learning, to keep building. And we'll see you on the next episode of Onchain Media. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.